Have you ever felt a little betrayed by your own body? Maybe it's a new ache in the morning that wasn't there last year, a stiffness in your joints that makes you think twice before bending down to pick up a grandchild's toy. Or maybe it's a quiet, nagging worry in the back of your mind after a doctor's appointment, a conversation about bone density, about words like osteopenia or osteoporosis. You're doing everything you've been told to do. You drink your milk, you eat your yogurt. You might even be taking a calcium supplement every single day, believing you are fortifying your bones, building a stronger foundation for the years ahead. You're trying your best to protect your future, your independence, your ability to travel, to garden, to live life on your own terms without fear. But what if I told you that even with all that effort, something else might be happening silently, insidiously, inside your body? What if some of the most common, even healthy foods on your plate are acting like secret saboteurs? What if they are, in effect, calcium blockers? Foods that actively prevent that vital mineral from ever reaching your bones no matter how much of it you consume. It's a frustrating, even infuriating thought. The idea that the very diet you trust to keep you strong could be making you weaker is a difficult truth to face. But today, we are going to face it together. Because knowledge isn't about fear, it's about power. In this video, we are going to pull back the curtain on the 5 types of calcium blocker foods that are silently destroying your bones. This isn't the same old advice to just eat more calcium. This is about understanding the real enemy so you can finally and truly nourish your body, protect your bones, and reclaim the strong, vibrant future you so richly deserve. I know that what I've just described might feel unsettling. The idea that you've been unknowingly working against yourself can be deeply disheartening. But I want you to take a deep breath with me, because understanding a hidden problem is the very first, most powerful step to truly solving it. And that is exactly what we are going to do today. We're going to build a new strategy for your bone health, one based on real understanding. But before we uncover these 5 truths, I need to know you're with me on this journey. This channel is more than just videos. It's a community for those of us who are committed to aging not just gracefully, but powerfully. If you are serious about taking back control of your health, take a moment right now to click that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. It's a small click that makes a big statement about your commitment to yourself. And to make this a true conversation, let me know in the comments below. What is the number 1 health concern on your mind right now? Is it mobility, heart health, mental clarity? Your voice matters here, and your concerns shape the support we build together. All right, let's pull back that curtain. The first silent saboteur we need to expose is a sneaky compound found in some of the healthiest foods you can imagine. I'm talking about oxalates. Now, that might sound like a complicated scientific word, but the concept is actually quite simple, and understanding it is the first major key to unlocking better bone health. Oxalates, or oxalic acid, are naturally occurring compounds found in many plants. They are part of the plant's defense system. But when we eat them, they can become a defense system against our own body's needs. Here's how it works. Imagine calcium is a vital package, a special delivery that needs to get from your digestive system all the way to your bones. Your body has a postal service ready to deliver it. But oxalates act like thieves along the delivery route. In your stomach and intestines, oxalate molecules find calcium molecules, and they bind to them, forming a new compound called calcium oxalate. This new compound is an insoluble crystal. It's like they've locked the calcium package inside an unbreakable box. Your body can't absorb this crystal. It can't open the box. And so that precious calcium, instead of getting delivered to your bones where it's desperately needed, simply gets escorted out of your body as waste. Think about that for a moment. You could be eating a calcium-rich food, or even taking a supplement, but if you consume it alongside a high oxalate food, a significant portion of that calcium is effectively canceled out. It's a nutritional bait and switch happening right inside your gut. This becomes especially critical as we get older. Our bodies are already working a bit harder to absorb nutrients efficiently. Our digestive systems may not be as robust as they were at 30. So, when we introduce a powerful calcium blocker like oxalates into the mix, we're making an already challenging job nearly impossible for our bodies. Let's make this real. I want you to picture a woman named Eleanor. She's 72, recently retired, and she's made a promise to herself to focus on her health. She read that green smoothies are a fantastic way to get nutrients. So, every single morning, she goes to her blender and he packs it full of what she believes is pure goodness. A giant two-fisted handful of fresh raw spinach, a scoop of almond butter for protein, and some fortified almond milk. She drinks it down, feeling virtuous, proud that she's starting her day with such a powerful dose of vitamins. But here's the quiet tragedy unfolding. The mountain of raw spinach she's using is one of the highest oxalate foods on the planet. The almond butter and almond milk are also significant sources. In her blender, she is creating a perfect storm for calcium blocking. The oxalates are binding with the calcium from the almond milk and any other calcium present, neutralizing it on the spot. Eleanor feels like she's fueling her body for strength, but in reality, she's running an engine that's not getting the high-quality fuel it needs to protect her bones from becoming more fragile. She might even notice that she feels a bit sluggish, or wonders why her efforts don't seem to be making her feel stronger. She's doing everything right, but she's missing this one crucial piece of the puzzle. So, what's the answer? Do we now have to live in fear of spinach, almonds, or other healthy foods like rhubarb, beet greens, and Swiss chard? Absolutely not. Remember, this is about empowerment, not fear. The solution isn't elimination, it's strategy. First, cook your high oxalate greens. Boiling or steaming vegetables like spinach can reduce their oxalate content by anywhere from 30 to nearly 90 because the oxalates leach out into the cooking water. So, if Eleanor switched from a raw spinach smoothie to having some lightly steamed spinach alongside her eggs, she would be absorbing far more nutrients. Discard the water, and you've discarded a huge number of those calcium thieves. Second, think about food pairing. Be strategic about when you eat your calcium. If you're going to have a bowl of yogurt or a glass of milk, maybe don't pair it with a huge handful of raw almonds. Separate your high calcium foods from your high oxalate foods by a few hours if you can. This gives the calcium a head start to be absorbed without interference. And third, diversify. Don't let spinach be your only go-to green. Rotate in lower oxalate options like kale, especially the lacinato or dino variety, bok choy, and romaine lettuce. Variety isn't just the spice of life, it's a cornerstone of a resilient nutritional strategy. By understanding oxalates, you're no longer just a passive eater. You're a strategist, making intelligent choices that ensure the good things you put into your body can actually do their job. Now that we understand how oxalates can hijack calcium before it's even absorbed, let's turn our attention to the second saboteur. This one is far more common, hiding in nearly every processed, packaged, and restaurant food we eat. And its method is more sinister. It doesn't just block new calcium from entering, it actively forces your body to drain calcium directly from your own bones. I'm talking about excess sodium. We all know salt, of course. A little bit is essential for life. But the sheer quantity of sodium in the modern diet has become one of the greatest threats to skeletal health, especially for those over 60. To understand why, we need to take a quick look at the magnificent filtration system inside our bodies, our kidneys. Your kidneys are the master purifiers. One of their main jobs is to maintain a very delicate balance of minerals and fluids in your blood. When you consume a lot of sodium, from canned soup, a frozen dinner, processed meats, or even bread, your blood sodium levels rise. Your kidneys recognize this as an emergency. They leap into action to filter out this excess sodium and flush it from your body through urine to restore balance. And here is the devastating secret. The biological pathway the kidneys use to grab and excrete sodium is chemically linked to the pathway for calcium. They are like partners in a mandatory evacuation. As the kidneys furiously pump out sodium, calcium gets dragged along for the ride. It's a concept called calciuresis, calcium loss through urine. The most terrifying part? This isn't necessarily the calcium from the cheese you just ate. When your body needs to balance its books quickly, it goes to its primary reserve bank of calcium, your skeleton. So, a high sodium diet creates a constant, low-level withdrawal from your bone bank account. Every time you eat a high-sodium meal, you are unknowingly authorizing a small transfer of your bone structure right out of your body. Over months, years, and decades, this tiny, invisible leak becomes a flood, leaving bones porous and fragile. Let's imagine a gentleman named Robert. Robert is 78, a proud man who lives alone and values his independence above all else. Since his wife passed, he doesn't cook much. It feels like too much trouble for one person. His pantry and freezer are his allies in convenience. For lunch, he'll often have a can of classic tomato soup and some saltine crackers. For dinner, it might be a pre-made lasagna from the freezer section, one advertised as a hearty, traditional meal. He thinks he's eating simply, not indulging in junk food. He's not adding salt from a shaker. In his mind, he's on a low-salt diet. But let's look closer. That single can of soup can contain over 1,100 milligrams of sodium. The small serving of crackers adds another 200. The frozen lasagna could easily pack 900 milligrams. Without ever touching a salt shaker, Robert is consuming over 2,200 milligrams of sodium in just 2 meals. Nearly the entire recommended daily limit for an adult. Lately, Robert's been feeling a bit unsteady on his feet. He had to grab a countertop last week to stop a stumble, and the fear it shot through him was electric. He blames it on just getting older. He would never, ever connect that feeling of frailty to his trusty can of soup. But every day, his convenient diet is forcing his kidneys to flush away the very mineral that gives his skeleton its strength. His desire for simple, independent living is, in a cruel twist of irony, eroding the physical foundation of that independence. So what is our strategy against this hidden enemy? Again, it is not about fear or deprivation. It's about being smarter than the food manufacturers. First, become a label detective. This is your single most powerful weapon. From now on, when you pick up a box, can, or package, your eyes go straight to the nutrition facts panel and find the sodium line. A simple rule of thumb. Any single serving that has over 20 of your daily value, %DV, is a high sodium food and should be a rare exception, not a daily staple. You will be shocked at what you find in bread, cottage cheese, and sauces. Second, prioritize whole unprocessed foods. An apple doesn't have a nutrition label. A fresh chicken breast, a potato, a head of broccoli, these are naturally low in sodium. The more you can shift your diet towards foods that look like they did in nature, the more you automatically take back control from the food processors. Third, re-educate your taste buds. We have been trained to equate salty with flavorful. It's time to break that training. Explore the incredible world of flavor that comes from other sources. A squeeze of fresh lemon or lime juice can brighten a dish more than salt ever could. Use herbs generously: dill, parsley, basil, rosemary. Embrace spices: smoked paprika, cumin, coriander, and especially garlic and onion powder, not their salt versions, can add immense depth and satisfaction. And a very practical tip: for canned goods like beans or vegetables, always look for the no salt added version. If you can't find it, pour the contents into a strainer and rinse them under running water for a full minute. This simple act can wash away up to 40 of the added sodium. We've unmasked the sneaky oxalate and the aggressive sodium. Now it's time to investigate our third saboteur, a compound that shares some similarities with oxalates but operates in a slightly different way. This one is found in abundance in many whole grains, beans, nuts and seeds, the very foods we're often encouraged to eat for heart health and fiber. I'm talking about phytic acid, or phytates. Just like oxalates, Phytic acid is part of a plant's natural storage and defense system. It's primarily how plants store phosphorus, another essential mineral. The problem for us is that phytic acid has a very strong binding affinity. It has these little arms that reach out and grab onto minerals in our digestive tract, forming an insoluble complex that our bodies cannot break down. And what are its favorite minerals to grab? It loves to bind with zinc, iron, and you guessed it, calcium. So the mechanism is very similar to oxalates. It locks up the calcium, preventing it from being absorbed into your bloodstream and ever making it to your bones. If you're eating a big bowl of unprocessed bran cereal with milk, thinking you're getting a double whammy of fiber and calcium, the phytic acid in the bran is likely binding to a significant portion of the calcium in the milk, rendering it unavailable. It's like sending a check to your bone bank, but the check bounces before it ever gets deposited. For seniors, this presents a unique and frustrating paradox. You're told to eat more fiber to help with digestion and regularity, which is incredibly important. You're told to eat whole grains for a healthy heart. But hidden within that excellent advice is this caveat that no one ever seems to mention. The very foods that help one part of your body can, if not prepared correctly, hinder another. This is especially concerning because as we age, our need for minerals like calcium, zinc, and iron actually increases, while our ability to absorb them often decreases due to changes in stomach acid and digestive enzymes. The presence of high levels of phytates just compounds this age-related challenge, creating a perfect storm for mineral deficiencies. Let's paint a picture of a woman we'll call Margaret. She's 68, a devoted gardener, and loves baking her own bread. She recently switched from white flour to a dense, 100% whole wheat flour she buys at a health food store. She also makes her own trail mix with raw nuts and seeds to snack on while she's out in the garden. She feels she's making all the right choices, investing in high-quality, natural ingredients. Lately, though, she's been feeling unusually fatigued. Her nails seem more brittle. She dismisses it as a sign of age, the price of staying so active in her garden. She would never suspect that her healthy homemade bread and trail mix could be part of the problem. But the high concentration of phytic acid in the unprocessed whole wheat and the raw nuts is working overtime in her gut, binding not only to calcium but also to iron and zinc, which can directly contribute to feelings of fatigue and poor nail health. She's putting in the effort, but the phytic acid is putting up a roadblock, preventing those vital nutrients from completing their journey. So, does this mean we should go back to white bread and avoid beans and nuts? Absolutely not. That would be throwing the baby out with the bathwater. The benefits of these foods are immense. The key, once again, is not elimination, but intelligent preparation. Humanity has known how to neutralize phytic acid for thousands of years. We've just forgotten these ancient wisdoms in our rush for convenience. Here are the powerful traditional techniques to unlock the full nutritional potential of these foods. First, soaking. When you soak beans, grains, or nuts in water for several hours or overnight, you activate an enzyme called phytase, which is naturally present in the food. This enzyme begins to break down the phytic acid. So, before you cook a pot of beans or lentils, give them a good long soak. The same goes for whole grains like oats or quinoa. A simple overnight soak can significantly reduce the phytic acid content. Second, sprouting. Sprouting is like soaking on steroids. When you allow a grain, bean, or seed to germinate, you unleash a massive enzymatic process that dismantles the phytic acid to free up the stored minerals for the growing plant. And we get the benefit. You can buy sprouted grain breads, which are becoming more common, sprouted nuts and seeds, or even sprout them yourself at home. Sprouted foods are nutritionally superior and far easier to digest. And third, fermentation. This is perhaps the most powerful method of all. The process of making sourdough bread is a perfect example. The long, slow fermentation of the dough with a wild yeast and bacteria culture completely predigests the grain. The microorganisms effectively neutralize the phytic acid, making the minerals in the flour bioavailable. This is why a traditionally made slice of sourdough bread is a far better choice for mineral absorption than a quick-rise whole wheat loaf. The same principle applies to other fermented foods like tempeh, fermented soybeans, versus unfermented tofu. By reintroducing these simple, time-honored preparation methods, you transform these foods from potential mineral blockers into nutritional powerhouses. You're not just eating, you're working in partnership with your food. We've now covered the 3 binders that block calcium. But the next 2 saboteurs are different. They don't just interfere with absorption, they actively alter your body's fundamental chemistry in a way that creates an environment where bone breakdown is all but guaranteed. And the next one is something most of us consume every single day without a second thought. This one isn't a compound in food, but rather a profound change that certain foods create within our body's delicate internal environment. It disrupts the very foundation of our health, creating a state where our bones are constantly under attack. I'm talking about chronic, low-grade metabolic acidosis caused by our diet. That sounds incredibly technical, I know, but let's break it down into a simple, powerful idea. Your body is a masterpiece of balance, or what scientists call homeostasis. One of the most important balances it must maintain is its pH level, particularly in the blood. It needs to keep your blood at a very slightly alkaline pH of around 7.4. Even tiny deviations from this can be catastrophic, so your body has powerful, non-negotiable systems in place to keep that number stable. Here's where our diet comes in. All foods, after they are digested and metabolized, leave behind a residue or an ash. This ash can be either acidic or alkaline in nature. Foods like meats, poultry, fish, dairy, eggs, grains, and especially processed foods and refined sugars tend to be acid-forming. Fruits and vegetables, on the other hand, are overwhelmingly alkaline-forming. The problem in our modern diet is a massive imbalance. We tend to eat a very high proportion of acid-forming foods and not nearly enough alkaline-forming foods. This creates a constant, low-grade acidic pressure on the body. Your body senses this acidic tilt and immediately initiates its emergency protocol to neutralize the acid and bring the blood pH back to that safe 7.4 level. And what is the body's greatest, most readily available reservoir of alkaline minerals? Your skeleton. Your bones are a living bank of calcium phosphate and calcium carbonate, 2 highly alkaline compounds. When your body is in a state of chronic low-grade acidosis from your diet, it sends a signal. We need alkaline reserves to buffer this acid, now. It then begins to systematically dissolve tiny particles of your bone matrix, releasing those alkaline calcium compounds into the bloodstream to neutralize the dietary acid load. Think of it this way. Imagine your blood is a swimming pool that needs to have its pH perfectly balanced. Your diet is constantly dumping a little bit of acid into the pool. To counteract this, the pool maintenance worker, your body, has to keep scraping a bit of the alkaline plaster off the pool walls, your bones, and dissolving it into the water to keep the balance. A little bit today doesn't seem like much, but do that every single day for 10, 20, 30 years, and what happens? The pool walls become pitted, thin, and weak. This is precisely what's happening to our bones. It's a slow, relentless erosion driven not by a lack of calcium intake, but by the body's desperate need to use its stored calcium for an entirely different job: acid-base balancing. Let's picture a couple, David and Susan, both in their late 60s. They consider themselves healthy eaters. But a typical day's food might be toast with butter and jam for breakfast, a turkey sandwich on whole wheat bread for lunch, and a dinner of baked chicken breast with rice and maybe a small side of green beans. It seems balanced, but let's analyze it through the acid-alkaline lens. The toast, grain; the turkey, protein; the bread, grain; the chicken, protein; and the rice, grain, are all acid-forming. The only alkaline contribution is that small serving of green beans. Day after day, their diet is creating a net acid load. They might not feel it directly, But it's the hidden reason why, despite getting what they think is enough calcium from the turkey and maybe a glass of milk, their bone density scans are starting to show a worrying decline. They are caught in this acidic cycle where their own diet is forcing their bodies to choose between maintaining blood pH and maintaining bone integrity. And for the body, survival today always wins. The blood pH will be balanced, and it will be done at the expense of their skeleton's long-term strength. The solution here is transformative, and it's not about becoming a vegetarian or giving up your favorite foods. It's about shifting the ratio. First, the most powerful rule you can adopt is the 2/3 rule. Aim to have at least 2/3 of your plate, by volume, be composed of alkaline-forming foods. This means vegetables and fruits. Instead of a large piece of chicken with a small scoop of vegetables, flip the ratio. Have a huge, colorful salad or a generous portion of roasted broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots, with a smaller palm-sized portion of chicken as the accompaniment. Think of vegetables as the main event and protein grains as the side dish. Tols, us and grains. Second, start your day alkaline. So many Western breakfasts are acid bombs: cereal, toast, eggs, bacon. Try starting with a fruit smoothie, using low oxalate greens like kale if you add any, or a bowl of fruit with a small amount of yogurt, or even just having a big glass of water with a generous squeeze of lemon juice before your regular meal. Lemon juice, while acidic in its natural state, is strongly alkaline forming once metabolized by the body. And third, hydrate strategically. Sipping on mineral water that is naturally rich in bicarbonate, or simply adding that squeeze of lemon or lime to your water throughout the day, provides a gentle, constant alkaline buffer that reduces the burden on your body and your bones. This isn't about being perfect. It's about tilting the balance back in your favor. By consciously flooding your body with alkaline-forming foods, you give it the tools it needs to buffer acidity without ever having to raid your precious bone bank. You stop the silent erosion at its source. We've journeyed through the complexities of absorption blockers and the systemic issue of dietary acid load. Now we arrive at our fifth and final category of calcium saboteurs. This group is different yet again. These aren't just binders or environmental disruptors. They contain substances that appear to directly meddle with the very cells that are in charge of bone remodeling, creating a dysfunctional workforce within your skeleton. I'm talking about phosphoric acid in sodas and excessive caffeine. Let's first tackle the issue of dark-colored sodas like colas. The problem here is not just the sugar, which contributes to the acid load we just discussed. The unique danger in these drinks is the addition of phosphoric acid. It's used to give the soda a tangy flavor and prevent the growth of mold and bacteria. It sounds harmless enough, but this massive, unnatural influx of phosphorus throws a wrench into your body's delicate mineral balancing act. Your body strives to maintain a specific ratio of calcium to phosphorus in the blood, ideally around 1.1 or 2:1. When you drink a cola, you flood your system with phosphorus without any accompanying calcium. Your body detects this skewed ratio and, once again, sounds an alarm. To restore balance, it needs to raise blood calcium levels. And where does it get that calcium? You know the answer by now. It pulls it directly from your bones. But it gets worse. Some research suggests that high phosphorus levels stimulate the release of the parathyroid hormone, PTH. A primary job of PTH is to regulate blood calcium. And when it's overstimulated, it puts the bone-dissolving cells, called osteoclasts, into overdrive. So every can of cola is potentially sending a direct hormonal signal to your body. Break down bone now. It's a double-edged sword. You're not getting any calcium from the drink, and the drink is actively telling your body to cannibalize its own skeleton. Now let's turn to caffeine. This is a sensitive subject. For many of us, that morning cup of coffee or tea is a non-negotiable ritual. It's a source of comfort, focus, and pleasure. And let me be clear, the goal is not to eliminate it. The danger lies in excess. Caffeine's negative effect on bone health is more subtle but just as real. First, like sodium, caffeine is a diuretic. It makes you urinate more frequently, and with every trip to the bathroom, you lose a small amount of calcium. Studies have shown that for every 100 milligrams of caffeine consumed, about one small cup of coffee, you can lose around milligrams of calcium. That might not sound like a lot, but if you're a 3 to 4 cup a day person, that's a steady daily drain on your reserves year after year. Second, and perhaps more importantly, some studies suggest that high caffeine intake can interfere with calcium absorption in the intestines. It seems to have a mild disruptive effect on the transport mechanisms that carry calcium from your gut into your bloodstream. So it's a 1-2 punch. It slightly reduces the amount of new calcium you can absorb, while also increasing the amount you excrete. Let's think about Arthur, a 75-year-old retired accountant who spends his afternoons working on complex crossword puzzles and reading history books. To stay sharp, he keeps a pot of coffee brewing all day. He'll have a cup when he wakes up, one mid-morning, another after lunch, and sometimes a fourth in the late afternoon. He also enjoys a Diet Cola with his dinner, a habit he's had for decades. He sees it as a harmless treat. Arthur has been diagnosed with significant osteoporosis. He is diligent about taking his large calcium and vitamin D supplement every morning with a glass of water. But he's frustrated because his bone density continues to decline. He can't understand it. What he doesn't see is the civil war he's creating inside his body. His supplement is the supply line of calcium, but his all-day coffee habit is creating a constant, low-level leak, and his evening cola is actively signaling his bone breakdown cells to work harder. He's pouring water into a bucket that has several small holes in the bottom and is being actively emptied from the top. His efforts are being undermined by his daily beverage rituals. So what is the empowered, strategic approach here? First, regarding sodas, make them a true rare treat, not a habit. If you have a cola once a month at a special event, it's not going to destroy your bones. But if it's a daily or even weekly habit, you must find a replacement. The best choice is sparkling mineral water with a squeeze of lemon or lime. It gives you the fizziness and a bit of tang without any of the destructive phosphoric acid. In fact, the minerals in the water will actively help you. Second, with caffeine, it's all about moderation and timing. Most research suggests that problems begin to arise with intakes over 300 to 400 milligrams per day. A standard 8-ounce cup of coffee has about 95 to 100 milligrams. So aim to keep your intake to 1 or 2 cups a day. Enjoy that morning ritual, savor it, but then switch to decaf, herbal tea, or water for the rest of the day. And here's a crucial strategic tip. Offset your caffeine with calcium. The good news is that the negative effect of caffeine can be almost entirely negated if your calcium intake is adequate. One study found that simply adding 1 or 2 tablespoons of milk to your coffee could be enough to offset the small calcium loss it causes. So, if you drink coffee, don't drink it black. Add some milk or have it alongside a calcium-rich food. And never, ever take your calcium supplement with your morning coffee, as the caffeine can interfere with its absorption. Take your supplement at a different time of day for maximum benefit. By managing these common beverages, you are patching the final leaks in your nutritional strategy, ensuring that the good work you do isn't being silently undone throughout the day. We've journeyed deep into the science of our bodies today. We've unmasked the sneaky binders like oxalates and phytic acid that lock up calcium. We've exposed the aggressive saboteurs like excess sodium and phosphoric acid that actively leach minerals from our skeleton. And we've understood how a chronically acidic diet forces our body into a devastating choice between short-term survival and long-term strength. If you look closely, you can see how all of these pieces connect. This isn't about fighting 5 separate battles. It's about understanding one single beautiful principle. Your body is constantly striving for balance. The real secret to bone health And to overall health isn't about just forcing more of one nutrient in. It's about creating an internal environment where your body is no longer under constant stress, where it isn't forced to make difficult compromises. It's about removing the roadblocks so that the nourishment you provide can actually reach its destination. I know this can feel like a lot of information. It might even feel a little overwhelming or perhaps frustrating to think about past habits. But I want you to banish that feeling right now. Don't see this as a list of restrictions or a catalog of everything you've done wrong. See this for what it truly is: a roadmap, a set of keys that unlocks a new level of control over your own health. You are not a passive victim of the aging process. You are the architect of your own well-being. Every meal, every choice is an opportunity to tilt the balance back in your favor. Swapping raw spinach for steamed, rinsing your canned beans, adding a squeeze of lemon to your water, choosing a smaller piece of chicken on a bigger bed of greens, these are not small, insignificant acts. These are profound statements of self-care. They are the daily deposits you make in your bone bank, building a reserve of strength that will allow you to stay independent, active, and engaged in the beautiful life you have built. This knowledge doesn't create fear, it eliminates it, because you now understand the why behind the what. You are now in the driver's seat. I truly hope this has been valuable for you and that it has opened your eyes to a new way of thinking about your health. If it has, please take a moment to hit that like button. It's a simple click, but it sends a powerful message to YouTube that this information is important, and it helps us reach so many more people who need to hear it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe so you never miss our next deep dive video. We are building a community here, a place dedicated to aging with strength, knowledge, and dignity, and we would be honored to have you with us. Remember, every small, smart choice is a victory. Stay strong, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.